Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about some great rock and roll soundtracks you might not remember. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Corey here from Armchair Rockstar. Let's talk about some great rock and roll soundtracks. Now, what I'm going to do here is we're going to go over my 10 personal favorites. These are not a best of, this isn't a ranking, nothing like that. I also took a few specific moves in an effort to kind of keep this well-rounded because the more I thought about it, you can't include single band movies in this. Otherwise, you've got to include all the Beatles flicks, Song Remains the Same, you got to get into The Wall, stuff like that, and there have been so many great videos like that come out that we'll just talk about those another day. I'm also avoiding movies that are excessively poppy too, that maybe have a lot of great rock and roll music, but they've also got a lot of just kind of basic pop, or maybe some Motown, for example, with Guardians of the Galaxy. That's kind of a broader thing. It's a fantastic soundtrack. It's one of my favorites, but it's not all rock. Same with Forrest Gump. Most of it is, but I just decided that was too obvious. I wanted these to be things maybe you hadn't thought about in a hot minute. Before we get started, if you'd take just a minute to hit the like button, maybe subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Helps us keep things rolling. So let's get moving. All right, number one. Again, don't read into the numbers. They mean jack. One of my favorites, though, has always been Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero. The movie came out in '93. It was fantastic, but the soundtrack is where it was at, man. It had AC/DC launched Big Gun on that. I don't know if you remember that song. You should. It had a very Thunderstruck vibe, and the movie played into it just right. The whole soundtrack was great for that album. I think they also had Megadeth, Alice in Chains. There were a bunch of bands on it that were really good. Number two. Let's talk about Dazed and Confused a little bit. That was just an obvious grab. It's almost like a Time Life classic rock ordered online album. It's that good. Sweet Emotion, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Freebird? Or Tuesday's Gone. I can't remember which one is the song at the end. It's left me. I think it's Freebird. But it's such a great album. Everything on it's good. And if you're just in the right mood, it's... I like to think of that album as great highway music. And it's a great movie. If you haven't watched it in a while, go back. Check it out. You'll like it. Number three. And this is one some of you won't remember until I say it, I'm certain. And some of you may not know it even when I do. But Wes Craven's Shocker. That movie came out in 1989. It was massive. It was cool. I saw it at the movies. But the soundtrack was something out of this world. The title track, a song called Shocker, was actually written by Desmond Child, and he recorded it with a group called Dudes of Wrath. And Dudes of Wrath, which is the subject of a later video, was actually Paul Stanley and Desmond Child on vocals, Tommy Lee playing drums, Rudy Sarzo, I think Michael Anthony sang backup. It was, oh my god, there's another guy I'm forgetting, a big one, but we'll get to that in another video. But the whole album is fantastic, man. The Dudes of Wrath songs are great. Megadeth redid No More Mr. Nice Guy by Alice Cooper. It's phenomenal on there. Dangerous Toys was there. Did Demon Bell. Demon Bell was a good song, too. That was another one that got kind of big in its day. All right, I got another one that's a deep cut like that I want to see who all remembers. But we're going to talk about the soundtrack to 1986's Trick or Treat, starring guys like Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. I went back and watched this movie recently, just so you know. It was a better memory. The movie was pretty bad. Worse than I remembered being a little boy when it came out. But the soundtrack is just great. It's 2/3 of it's just an album by Fastway, who some of you won't even remember either. But the title track off that song, Trick or Treat, was good. After Midnight's great. I'm trying to remember who else might have been on there, but it's not coming to me right now. But the Trick or Treat soundtrack is one that I still have the original cassette. I couldn't drum it up for this. I wanted to be able to shake it and show you, but I couldn't find it. But I used to have it, and I was listening to it jamming yesterday while we were preparing for this video. I was kind of going through them and thinking, man, I forgot how great this is. Off to number 5. For number 5, we're going to talk about Almost Famous. This was an obvious fit that just damn near slipped through the cracks on me, and I almost didn't include it. Thankfully, I consulted some friends before I put this list together to try and make sure I didn't miss any biggies like that, because that's a biggie. Almost Famous came out in 2000. Amazing movie about a young guy wanting to work for Rolling Stone. Man, that's the dream. As a guy who's been a journalist for years, that was my dream. And in a way still is, if they ever wanted someone to come in and just completely overhaul and make it great again like it was. But that soundtrack had everything, man. There's Black Sabbath, there's Yes, there's Allman Brothers Band, Neil Young. There's just so freaking many to talk about. It's kind of hard to just narrow it down to a few, because it's not necessarily one great song here. It's the whole damn thing is just solid. It's good. We're gonna move on now to number 6, and we're gonna talk about High Fidelity with John Cusack. This flick came out back in 2000. I wrote down, apparently. I guess that's the year. Joan Jett, Rush, Elton John. I think Crocodile Rock was a song on this one. Springsteen, Frampton. It's a great album, and it's a great movie, you know. High Fidelity was a good one. It's a classic flick with a classic soundtrack, and one you should go back and maybe give a little listen one day. You might enjoy the afternoon out of it. Number 7. All right. Empire Records. That was such a great movie. Came out in 95. Top to bottom, it's just one of my all-time favorite films. But it also has an extra special soundtrack. I mean, I want to say Gin Blossoms did Till I Hear It From You there. I really liked that. I always liked Gin Blossoms. Cracker had a song on there. I don't know if you remember Cracker. AC/DC, Dishwalla, Better Than Ezra. You know, some kind of middle-of-the-road 90s bands. But overall, it's a great album. Let's see. Let's go to number 8 and see what we've got. Oh, I forgot. This is a good one. Airheads with Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and I can't remember who else. But God, it's a fun movie. If you're a rock and roller, it's a good time. It's a comedy. It's about these guys that break into a radio station, and they just want to get their demo played. And somehow they just decide that robbery is the way to do that. So they go in and they do that. But the soundtrack to this one is just beyond great. Partially because the first song is a combo with Motorhead, Ice-T, and Whitfield Crane, who was the singer of Ugly Kid Joe, you might remember from back then. But they did Born to Raise Hell together. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of my favorite songs with Lemmy singing ever. I like a lot of Motorhead, but this had kind of a modern rock and roll jive. It was sort of like Motorhead with a little polish, and damn, it's good. I can't remember who else was in there. White Zombie, House of Pain had songs in there. Anthrax. There were quite a few, and not just get the soundtrack. Go back and watch the movie. It's a lot of people thought it was stupid. It got a lot of hate, but the truth is I enjoyed it. Number 9. Y'all ready for this? This one almost slipped through the cracks too. This movie came out in 1991. We're going to talk about Wayne's World. I cannot believe, with all of the monumental moments in this movie centered around classic rock songs, that it wasn't way up at the top of my list. But for whatever reason, it slipped through. I hadn't seen it in probably 25 years. That might be why. Obviously, with the soundtrack, you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, which is honestly the movie that breathed new life into that classic song. The people you hear singing it now are singing it because it was in Wayne's World for the most part. I mean, there are people who are diehard Queen fans, but when you see younger people, you can thank that movie. They had everything. I mean, they had Sabbath, Alice Cooper. Hendrix's Foxy Lady. That scene with Dana Carvey walking through the diner, walking over there to hit on the lady for the first time. That was a great scene. Another special one off of that was Tia Carrera. that was, kind of the beginning of Tia Carrera, and she popped out some solid songs on this thing. I mean, her version of Ballroom Blitz was killer. She did Why You Gonna Break My Heart, and it seems like there was one more she did. I keep saying she did Cherry Bomb, but it's not right. I think it's just the Runaways Cherry Bomb that happens to be on the album. I didn't double check that. Could be wrong. Number 10. It's a unique soundtrack. We're going to talk about Judgement Night. I don't know how many of you remember this. I keep wanting to say it was Wesley Snipes and Dennis Leary. It sounds crazy, but it seems like that's who was in it. But the whole soundtrack, they took like a metal band and a rap band and smacked them together and told them to make a song. And these guys made some great stuff. The main one was Living Color and Run DMC. They played together. Onyx and Biohazard did the title track, Judgement Night, and that song was massive. And it did great. It was good. While I'm not typically a big rap guy, I am really keen on meshing different genres and just seeing what happens. I think it's fun. Mudhoney and Sir Mix-a-Lot. There's a combo for you. And I think the last one was Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill. I swear to God, that's enough reason to go find this thing on its own, right? I've got a number of honorable mentions probably that I should. I mentioned Gump. I mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, School of Rock. Maybe that's it. I'm sure there are others, and I'm sure all of you will be glad to tell me about them in the comments while you chastise me for forgetting your favorite movie. But if I did, let me know. It's all good, man. We'll find it. Otherwise, please take a minute to like and subscribe. That really helps us out as we're making this push to 1,000 followers to finally get this channel monetized. It's close, but needs to happen in hopefully the next 4 months. So I'm just fingers crossed we're going to get there. We're going to start putting out better content with better stories. Kind of redecorated our area a little to make it a little more fun. But yeah, otherwise, we'll see you back here next time. I thank you for watching and have a great week. Peace.